Welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating, surprising, and mind-blowing treasures ever to emerge from the world of modern coin collecting, a story that blends mystery, minting technology, human error, and the electrifying possibility that a coin most people would ignore on the sidewalk could turn out to be worth more than a mansion. Because today we're talking about the astonishing case of the 2012 1-cent coin that reportedly soared to a jaw-dropping valuation of $16 million, a figure so extraordinary that it forces collectors, experts, and everyday viewers to wonder how a tiny copper-colored piece of metal could achieve such overwhelming value. And as we journey through the details, the theories, the mishaps, and the fascinating chain of events that could create such a treasure, we'll unravel the technical possibilities, explore the types of minting anomalies that can transform an ordinary coin into an ultra-rare marvel, and immerse ourselves in the gripping reality that mistakes sometimes create masterpieces. So settle in, get comfortable, and enjoy this deep dive into a single, continuous exploration of how a 2012 1-cent coin could become a multi-million-dollar phenomenon, starting with the fact that in any modern minting process, especially the high-speed, high-pressure environment used to produce billions of pennies, things can and do go wrong despite the technological sophistication of the machinery, and these errors are not usually glamorous, often involving blanks that get stuck, dies that crack, or planchets that strike improperly, yet occasionally, a combination of errors compounds in such a uniquely rare way that the resulting coin becomes not just collectible but legendary. And with the 2012 cent in question, collectors speculate that a remarkable suite of anomalies may have aligned, such as a double strike where the coin is hit twice with the die but at slightly misaligned angles, creating ghost-like overlapping images on Lincoln's portrait and the shield design on the reverse, along with the possibility of off-metal striking where the planchet used was not the normal copper-plated zinc composition but perhaps a leftover planchet from a previous year, a test planchet accidentally mixed into production, or even a foreign coin planchet that somehow made its way into the machinery, creating a hybrid anomaly so rare that only one or two examples might exist in the entire world. And think about the magnitude of such a discovery, because the rarity of error coins directly determines their value, and when a coin emerges that no one has seen before and that is not supposed to exist under any circumstances, the value can skyrocket instantly, driven by competition among elite collectors, auction houses, and investors who recognize that extreme rarity combined with undeniable mint origin errors transforms a coin into a once-in-a-lifetime find. And in the case of this extraordinary 2012 cent, additional factors have been suggested, such as a dramatic off-center strike where the die lands only partially on the planchet, leaving a crescent shape of unstruck metal along the rim, or a dramatic broad strike where the collar fails, allowing the planchet to spread outward unusually, or perhaps a mule error where the obverse from one coin series and the reverse from a completely different denomination were accidentally paired together. Something that theoretically should never occur and yet has happened in history, producing some of the rarest coins ever auctioned, each selling for staggering sums that rival fine art, diamonds, and historic artifacts, and the presence of multiple simultaneous errors on one coin exponentially increases rarity, because while single errors are collectible and double errors are impressive, a triple or quadruple error is almost unheard of, especially in the modern era where quality control is more advanced than ever. So when rumors or reports arise of a 2012 cent that possesses not just one but several monumental minting mistakes, the numismatic world takes notice, and the speculation builds around what exact combination of anomalies could push the value to $16 million. A number that might seem unbelievable until you consider that collectors have paid seven figures for coins simply because they were struck on the wrong metal, as seen in the famous 1943 copper penny or the 1974 aluminum cent, both of which owe their extraordinary value to the circumstances of their creation rather than their face value, and the mystique deepens when you imagine the potential origins of the 2012 error cent, perhaps a mishap during a die replacement cycle, when the mint worker changed one die but the other remained temporarily mismatched, or perhaps the presence of a test strike that was accidentally released into circulation, or, even more intriguing, the possibility that a foreign planchet intended for another country's coinage somehow entered the system, creating a coin with completely unexpected weight, thickness, metallic composition, and acoustic resonance, something collectors immediately recognize as out of the ordinary, and then there's the visual appeal of dramatic errors, such as the well-known but rare double-die obverse effect where details like Lincoln's eye, date, or lettering appear doubled with striking clarity, a feature collectors love because it results not from damage or wear but from a mistake in preparing the die itself, making the error baked into every coin struck from that die until the mistake is discovered and halted. But because mint employees often process thousands of coins per minute, these errors can go unnoticed for short bursts of time, allowing a tiny number of flawed beauties to escape, and when only one or two examples make it into the world, their rarity becomes almost immeasurable, pushing their value into the upper stratosphere of the numismatic market. And it's also essential to remember that collectors value not only the rarity of the error but also the story behind it, the allure of imagining how such a coin passed through the minting facility, into a bag, onto a truck, then into a bank, and perhaps even through the hands of countless people who never realized what they were holding, until eventually someone with sharp eyes discovered its anomalies and sent ripples through the collecting community, sparking debates, expert examinations, metal analyses, and authentication procedures that confirmed the coin's status as a genuine mint error rather than a post-mint alteration, because authenticity is everything in the world of high-value coins, and the sheer technical precision of the mint's machinery makes genuine multi-layered errors incredibly hard to forge, meaning that for a coin to reach a valuation as high as $16 million, it must undergo rigorous professional scrutiny, where experts examine the die flow lines, strike pressure patterns, metal distribution, and microscopic clues that only genuine minting errors possess, and when all those experts agree that the coin's errors are real and extremely rare, its status becomes legendary, pushing demand and value upward. And then we consider the emotional dimension of collecting, the way certain coins capture the imagination of the world, becoming symbols of the unexpected wealth hidden in everyday life. Like the idea that a simple penny minted in 2012, a year when billions were produced, could contain a set of mistakes so profound that it transforms into a once-in-centuries treasure, inspiring people everywhere to look more carefully at their change, to learn about mint errors, and to dream about rare discoveries. And as the narrative spreads, the rarity of the coin becomes amplified by its fame, making collectors even more eager to acquire it, because in the world of ultra-rare collectibles, high-end investors often view these treasures not just as pieces of history but as stores of value, alternative assets that can appreciate dramatically over time, and a $16 million cent, especially one of a kind, becomes not only a coin but a phenomenon, a cultural symbol of rarity, serendipity, and the incredible value that mistakes can hold. And when we look at the specific kinds of errors that may have contributed, think of a dramatic die clash where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions of the opposite design on each side of the coin, a struck-through error where foreign materials like grease, cloth fibers, or metal shavings were caught between the die and planchet during striking, or a rotated die error where the alignment between obverse and reverse is significantly off from the standard 180-degree orientation. Each layer of imperfection adds another dimension of rarity and value, and the combination of these in one example could create something numismatists have never documented before, pushing the coin beyond normal rarity into mythical status, and the fascination grows when considering that the minting year 2012 itself did not produce many widely recognized or famous errors, making the existence of such an extraordinary piece even more shocking. Because rarity isn't just about how many survive but also about how unexpected the error is for that year or series, and a completely unprecedented 2012 cent error would immediately stand apart from every known example, capturing the full attention of both seasoned collectors and newcomers alike, who marvel at how a coin that cost a fraction of a penny to manufacture could be elevated into the realm of luxury collectibles like rare paintings or diamonds. Next, 1992 1-cent coin. Today, as we explore one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and electrifying stories in the world of rare coins, a story that captivates collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday viewers who love the idea that something as small and ordinary as a 1-cent coin could be hiding a secret worth millions. And today we're diving deep into the legendary 1992 1-cent coin that has reportedly reached an estimated value of $10 million because of its rare errors, unusual Characteristics, exceptional minting mistakes, and the extraordinary combination of conditions that make it one of the most desirable pieces ever to surface from modern United States coinage. So settle in as we unravel every detail, every theory, every possibility, and every minting anomaly that could elevate an ordinary penny into the realm of priceless rarities. Beginning with the simple fact that the transition period of the early 1990s introduced subtle changes in the minting process. Particularly with the design and spacing of certain elements on the Lincoln cent, including the famous close AM and wide AM variations that became a source of major fascination for collectors, because these design discrepancies, although tiny and barely noticeable to the untrained eye, represent distinctive errors where the intended die was switched or mismatched, resulting in coins where the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse design is much closer than it should be for a given year. And this unintentional mismatch is one of the primary reasons the 1992 close AM penny is already known as a valuable rarity, but in the hypothetical scenario where a single surviving specimen presents not just the close AM variation but an even deeper array of unprecedented errors, the value can climb into the multi-million-dollar range. And the idea that such a coin could reach $10 million becomes entirely plausible when we consider how rarity, error combinations, provenance, and collector demand interact in the numismatic marketplace, and to truly understand how the 1992 1-cent coin could command such an extraordinary value, we must explore the multitude of minting mistakes that may have occurred, starting with the die varieties themselves. Because the 1992 close AM is believed to have been created when reverse dies intended for the following year's proofs or alternative design stages were accidentally used on a tiny number of regular circulation coins, resulting in a coin that should not exist under normal circumstances, and when errors are rooted in transitions between design years, they gain importance because they reveal exactly how the mint operated, how dies were tested, and how rare moments of oversight slipped through the cracks, and this alone would make the coin valuable. But the story doesn't end there. Because for a 1992 1-cent coin to soar to $10 million, additional exceptional errors would have to be stacked on top of the close AM anomaly, such as the possibility of an off-metal strike, where instead of being struck on the usual copper-plated zinc planchet, the coin might have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1983 production, or on a foreign coin planchet accidentally mixed into the hopper, creating a coin that not only bears a rare design but also possesses incorrect metal composition, incorrect weight, unusual coloration, or distinct acoustic qualities that instantly alert experienced collectors that something extraordinary is at hand, and the rarity of such off-metal errors is extreme, because by 1992 the mint had already standardized its materials and was using machinery designed to detect out-of-specification planchets, meaning that an off-metal 1992 cent would not just be rare but nearly impossible, elevating value significantly due to the improbability of its creation. And then we add the possibility of a double strike, where the coin was struck twice either by accident or due to a mechanical jam in the press, resulting in faint overlapping outlines of Lincoln's bust or doubled lettering that would make the coin visually unique and instantly recognizable. And double strikes alone can make coins worth tens of thousands of dollars, but when combined with an already ultra-rare design variety like the close AM, the resulting synergy between errors boosts rarity so dramatically that the coin's theoretical value skyrockets. And then we can imagine a misaligned die error, where the obverse or reverse die was slightly shifted so that the strike lands off-center or rotated, creating a coin where the alignment between the front and back differs from the standard 180-degree orientation. And rotated die errors, especially dramatic ones, are highly collectible because they prove that the minting process malfunctioned in a noticeable way. And then consider a die crack or die break running through Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the lettering, forming raised lines or bumps on the coin that are not damage but mint-generated features caused by a deteriorating die. And die cracks add character and uniqueness, showing that the coin was struck during the final moments of a die's life, and in rare instances, they create spectacular features like retained cut breaks or blobs of extra metal that give the coin a highly unusual appearance. And such dramatic visual errors can captivate collectors because they represent singular events in the minting process, moments where a failing die produced only a handful of anomalies before being removed, creating a micropopulation of coins with identical but extremely rare features, further enhancing the possibility of a $10 million valuation. And building on that, we can also imagine a die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies accidentally strike one another without a planchet between them, imprinting faint outlines of the opposite design directly onto the dies, and thus onto the coin struck afterwards, creating ghost-like images such as the shield impression appearing behind Lincoln or parts of Lincoln's bust faintly appearing on the reverse shield, adding another layer of mystery. And die clashes are beloved by collectors because they demonstrate mechanical mishaps in the mint that few witnesses ever see, yet their traces live on through the coins themselves. And when such a clash appears alongside other ultra-rare errors, the coin becomes exponentially more valuable, not just because of its physical characteristics but because the narrative behind its creation becomes richer, more complex, and more compelling for collectors who want not just a rare coin but a story in metal form. And continuing our journey through the possibilities, we must consider the struck-through error category, where foreign materials such as grease, cloth fibers, metal filings, or even pieces of broken die become lodged between the die and the planchet. During striking, creating depressions, missing details, or oddly shaped voids on the coin's surface, and struck-through errors often create bizarre appearances that make a coin stand out immediately, and when combined with other rare errors, they add even more value because the coin becomes a once-in-a-lifetime combination of events that demonstrate multiple independent failures at the mint, something extraordinarily unlikely given modern quality control. And then we have the possibility of a broad strike error, where the retaining collar fails and allows the coin to expand outward, producing a wider-than-normal cent with blurred rims, and broad-struck coins are already eye-catching, but if one were paired with the close AM reverse variety, an off-metal planchet, a double strike, and a misalignment, the result would be a coin so dramatically different from the normal 1992 cent that collectors would not only desire it but fiercely compete for it at auction, forcing the value upward. And part of what makes such a coin so compelling is not just the errors themselves but the almost impossibly rare confluence of errors that theoretically could occur but almost never do, and when they do, they produce coins that sit at the very pinnacle of the collectible world, becoming numismatic legends in the process. And such a coin would also inspire speculation about how exactly it escaped the mint, because for a coin with so many errors to slip past modern inspection systems is an extraordinary feat in itself, adding intrigue and making the coin even more desirable, as collectors love a good story tied to their treasures. And when experts authenticate the coin, examining it under magnification, testing the metal composition, analyzing the die markers, and confirming that every error occurred at the mint rather than post-production, the coin's legitimacy becomes unquestionable. And with authenticity comes astronomical value, especially given that such a coin might be the only one of its kind, a true population one specimen. And in the world of high-end collecting, uniqueness drives value far more than age or condition alone, meaning that a coin like this could easily surpass previous auction records and become a headline-making artifact that transcends numismatics and enters mainstream cultural fascination, inspiring documentaries, articles, discussions, and an enduring reputation as the most spectacular error coin of its era. And if we imagine that this 1992 cent features sharp details, strong strike pressure, and minimal wear, meaning it likely went unnoticed for years before being discovered by a collector who either spotted the close AM, noticed the weight difference, or recognized the visual anomalies created by its errors. Next, 1984 1 cent. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing and electrifying stories in the world of rare coins, a story that blends the thrill of discovery with the mysteries of minting technology and the incredible potential that a tiny, ordinary-looking penny can hold unimaginable value. Because today we're exploring the unbelievable tale of the 1984 1 cent coin that has reportedly reached a staggering valuation of $11 million due to a combination of rare errors, minting anomalies, unusual characteristics, and improbable mistakes that collectively transformed a common piece of U.S. currency into one of the most valuable modern coins ever imagined. And as you listen, you're going to hear about the kinds of minting failures that defy logic, the mechanical accidents that leave behind clues in metal, the nearly impossible circumstances that must align for a penny to escape the mint with more than one major flaw, and the almost mythic allure that arises when experts confirm that a coin with multiple extreme errors is genuine, making it not just a collectible but a treasure. So let's settle into this journey and immerse ourselves in the layers and layers of possibilities that could elevate a 1984 cent to an $11 million phenomenon, starting with the fact that 1984 is already a significant year for Lincoln cents because of the famous doubled ear variety, an error where Lincoln's earlobe appears to have been duplicated or shadowed due to misalignment. In the die creation process, and this doubled ear variety is already widely known and admired in the collecting community because it presents a clear and dramatic double detail that is unmistakable even under modest magnification, making it one of the most desirable modern double die obverse errors. But imagine a scenario where a single 1984 penny not only carries the doubled ear but exhibits additional layered errors that elevate it far beyond known varieties, and this is where collectors start to speculate that the $11 million valuation becomes plausible, because in numismatics, value is driven by rarity, demand, condition, and above all the presence of extraordinary errors that should not logically coexist on a single coin. So let's consider each possible minting anomaly and how each adds to the rarity and mystery of such a coin, beginning with the double die process itself. Because the 1984 doubled ear penny was created when the obverse die received more than one impression from the hub but at a slightly misaligned angle, causing duplication in design elements, and when such a mistake happens, the resulting die can strike hundreds or thousands of coins before the error is detected. But what if the die in question had undergone additional irregularities, such as a rotational misalignment between hub impressions, an overstated pressure strike, or the development of microscopic cracks that eventually became visible die breaks on the struck coin, and these cracks can appear as raised lines or bumps across Lincoln's portrait, the date, the lettering, or anywhere else on the obverse, and these die cracks not only add visual uniqueness but help authenticate the error as a true mint creation. And now imagine the reverse side also carries its own anomalies, such as a die clash where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint impressions of Lincoln's silhouette on the memorial or creating ghost-like outlines of the building on Lincoln's portrait, adding a mysterious look that is instantly captivating. And die clashes alone can add significant value because they are rarer in modern coinage given improvements in mint technology, but for such a clash to appear on the same coin as the doubled ear suggests a sequence of mechanical failures that would be nearly impossible, making the coin's existence extraordinary. And to push the value toward $11 million, we also imagine the possibility of an off-metal strike, meaning the planchet used was not the standard copper-plated zinc composition used after 1982 but perhaps a leftover bronze planchet from earlier years, or even more dramatic, a foreign coin planchet intended for use in another country's minting contract. And the idea of a 1984 US cent being struck on a foreign planchet is mesmerizing because mints occasionally handle large volumes of coinage for other nations, and mistakes in planchet sorting have been documented, resulting in extremely rare hybrid coins with incorrect weights and compositions. And when a coin has both an off-metal strike and a dramatic double die error, its rarity increases exponentially. And now imagine combining this with an off-center strike, where the die lands partially off the planchet, leaving a crescent of blank metal and shifting the design toward one edge, and the farther off-center the strike, especially above 70%, the rarer and more desirable it becomes, particularly when the date remains intact, because collectors want identifiable years on major errors. And if the 1984 date is fully visible despite a dramatic off-center strike, the coin becomes instantly iconic. But let's take this even further because single errors are fascinating and double errors are incredible. But the holy grail of modern error coins is the combination of multiple rare errors in one single coin, such as a broad strike error where the retaining collar fails, allowing the coin to spread outward beyond its normal diameter, creating a flat, wide-rimmed appearance, a condition that can happen if the collar is jammed, damaged, or misaligned. And broad strikes create a unique silhouette that collectors instantly recognize, making them valuable on their own. But when paired with a double die obverse, a die clash, and potentially an off-metal strike, the coin becomes a marvel of minting chaos. And now imagine yet another layer of error, a double strike, where after the first strike the coin either sticks to the die or bounces and repositions before being struck again, producing overlapping images, shadow letters, or a dramatic partial impression. And double strikes are popular because they provide clear visual evidence of mint malfunction, and their dramatic appearance tends to attract collectors even outside the hardcore numismatic community. And when a coin with multiple errors like this appears, especially one from a modern year where quality control is generally strong, it becomes a once-in-a-generation anomaly. and collectors begin to speculate that a coin like this can set records, pushing values into the millions, especially if authentication confirms that every error occurred at the mint and none were added artificially, and the authentication process itself plays a major role in the valuation because experts examine every detail, including strike pressure, metal flow patterns, microscopic die markers, the directionality of the errors, the weight of the planchet, the edges, the rims, and the alignment between obverse and reverse, and if everything matches up perfectly with known mint characteristics and confirms that the errors could only have resulted from genuine mechanical failure, then the coin's credibility skyrockets, and with credibility comes desirability. And with desirability comes competition among elite collectors who recognize that a one-of-a-kind modern era coin represents an opportunity that may never appear again in their lifetime, and added to this is the potential that the coin is in exceptional condition, perhaps even uncirculated, meaning it escaped into the world without spending time in pockets, drawers, vending machines, or circulation bins. And this preservation increases value dramatically because mint errors that remain pristine are incredibly rare since most escape the mint unintentionally and are not immediately recognized by the public, leading to wear and damage before being discovered, and the discovery story of such a coin also adds narrative value, because people love hearing about the person who found it, whether it was discovered in a bank roll, a coin jar, a family collection, or a forgotten stash in the back of a drawer, and discovery narratives create emotional engagement that fuels collector excitement, which in turn influences market value. And when a coin becomes famous, whether through articles, documentaries, social media buzz, or auction house promotions, its value increases further because rarity becomes enhanced by public fascination, creating a phenomenon rather than simply a collectible object, and in that environment, it's easy to imagine the price soaring to $11 million, especially if the coin is believed to be unique, a population-one treasure that encapsulates multiple mint mistakes that should never logically coexist, making it a symbol of both the complexity and the fallibility of the minting process, and such a coin becomes a tangible reminder that errors, though unintended, can create some of the most magnificent and valuable treasures in the collecting world, and that a simple 1984 penny, a coin most people overlook without a second thought, can become something so rare, so unusual, so dramatic, and so historically intriguing that collectors place astronomical value on it, transforming it into one of the most iconic and sought-after coins in modern numismatic history, a coin whose story will be shared for generations and whose mystique will continue to inspire collectors to examine every coin that passes through their hands, knowing that hidden fortunes can sometimes be found in the smallest and most unexpected places. Last 2017 P1 cent coin. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing and mind-bending stories in the world of collectible currency, a story that takes us into the heart of modern minting technology, explores the unpredictable nature of mechanical imperfections, and reveals how a tiny piece of metal that most people would overlook without a second thought can turn into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Because today we're talking about the unbelievable case of the 2017 P1 cent coin, a coin that in its normal form is the cheapest denomination in circulation, but in rare, extraordinary, nearly impossible circumstances can become worth a staggering $13 million due to a combination of minting errors, unique conditions, improbable mistakes, and extreme rarity that elevate it into the realm of numismatic legends. And as we explore this topic, we will travel through every possibility, every anomaly, every type of mistake that could elevate a 2017 P penny, already historically significant because it marked the first year that the Philadelphia Mint placed its P mint mark on the cent, into an ultra-valuable specimen that collectors would fight over, and we'll examine how unusual die states, dramatic planchet distortions, mismatched materials, press malfunctions, and multi-layered mint errors can create a perfect storm of rarity, turning something common into something priceless. And to understand how such a coin could reach $13 million in value, we must first acknowledge how important 2017 was for the Lincoln cent, because for the first time in over a century the Philadelphia Mint added a P mint mark to the penny in honor of its 225th anniversary, making even ordinary 2017 P pennies historically distinctive. And when you introduce history into the world of mint errors, value automatically increases because the significance of the year amplifies the rarity of the mistakes. And now imagine that within the billions of 2017 P cents produced, a single coin emerges with an unprecedented combination of errors so unlikely that even mint experts would be shocked that it escaped into circulation, and to reach the $13 million realm we must imagine an error coin that is not merely flawed but profoundly flawed on multiple layers, beginning perhaps with an off-metal strike, where the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet not intended for 1-cent production, such as a foreign coin blank used during contract minting, a leftover copper or bronze planchet from decades earlier, or even a dime planchet reflecting a rare mismatch in the production feed, and such off-metal errors are already extremely rare in modern minting because machines are designed to detect incorrect planchet thickness, diameter, and metal composition, so for an off-metal 2017 penny to exist, the failure must have slipped through flawlessly, which is already highly improbable and therefore massively valuable, and now imagine the off-metal planchet combining with a dramatic double strike, where the coin was struck twice because it either bounced between dies or got stuck in the chamber, causing overlapping images of Lincoln's bust or doubling on the lettering such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date, and double strikes alone can turn a penny into a 5-figure coin, but when combined with a mint mark bearing year and an off-metal substrate, the value jumps exponentially, and then imagine a misaligned die error layered on top, where the obverse die or reverse die rotated out of alignment from its standard position, creating a rotated die strike where Lincoln's portrait and the Union shield on the reverse no longer line up at the expected 180-degree orientation, and rotated die errors over 90 degrees are rare and dramatic, making the coin immediately eye-catching. And now picture that same coin also showing signs of a major broad strike, where the retaining collar failed and allowed the planchet to expand outward during striking, creating a coin wider and flatter than normal with distorted rims and stretched design features, and broad strikes occur when the collar intended to constrain the metal fails, and while they sometimes happen, combining such a strike with an off-metal planchet, a double strike, and a rotated die places this hypothetical coin into a near impossible tier of rarity, and then imagine that before these strikes happened, the dies themselves suffered from deterioration, such as die cracks or die breaks that cause raised lines, cuds, or blobs of extra metal on the design, and die deterioration errors like cracks along Lincoln's forehead, his coat, or around the lettering provide additional visual evidence of mint errors, making the coin more desirable, but when these errors appear on an already anomaly-filled coin they further elevate its mythical status. And next consider a die clash error where the obverse and reverse dies collided without a planchet between them, transferring faint outlines of each side onto the opposite die, creating ghost-like images such as the Union shield appearing faintly behind Lincoln's portrait or portions of Lincoln's silhouette appearing on the shield, and die clashes generate eerie, beautiful anomalies that collectors love, and in combination with everything else we've described they create an error masterpiece, and then add the possibility of a struck-through error, where debris, grease, cloth fibers, or metal fragments became trapped between the die and the planchet during striking, creating depressions or missing design areas, and struck-throughs often leave irregular shapes, smudged areas, or missing lettering that add another layer of uniqueness. And now imagine a coin that includes grease-filled die characteristics causing missing or faint letters in God We Trust or Liberty, making the coin even more unusual. And now we layer on another rare possibility, a mule error where the obverse die of the penny was accidentally paired with a reverse die intended for another denomination or different year, an error so exceedingly rare that only a tiny handful are known across all modern U.S. coinage, and if such an event happened with a 2017 cent, the value would detonate into the multi-million-dollar range instantly, and the idea of a mule error combined with an off-metal planchet, double strike, rotated dies, broad strike, struck-through debris, die clash, and die cracks becomes so improbable that the resulting coin would be a once-in-a-century anomaly. And then consider how the discovery of such a coin adds its own layer of excitement, because imagine someone finding this coin in pocket change, a coin jar, a bank roll, or a forgotten stash, and the discovery story alone amplifies its fame, as collectors adore tales of ordinary people uncovering impossible treasures in everyday places. And once this coin enters the hands of experts, it undergoes intense authentication to verify that every error happened at the mint and none after, with specialists examining metal flow patterns, strike pressure indicators, microscopic die markers, rim structure, metal composition, weight differentials, magnetic properties, edge characteristics, and both obverse and reverse alignments, and when experts confirm that such a coin is genuine, unique, and undeniably minted with multiple catastrophic errors, the coin immediately becomes a priceless artifact in the eyes of advanced collectors, auction houses, museums, and investors. And because the 2017 p-cent already holds historical significance as the first and only year the Philadelphia Mint used the P mint mark on the penny, the significance adds even more desirability because collectors love coins that mark special events or transitions in minting history, and when such a coin emerges in the middle of that historic year, it becomes doubly important, a symbol of both celebration and accidental marvel, and the rarity skyrockets because if only one such coin exists, and coins with multiple layers of errors generally survive in extremely tiny numbers, its pricing is driven by competition among elite collectors who desire absolute uniqueness and cannot resist bidding against each other for ownership of something that may never be replicated or found again, and when collectors and investors compete, the price can explode, as we've seen with other multi-million-dollar coins, and thus we reach the astonishing but believable valuation of $13 million, a price tag fueled by the irresistible combination of historical context, spectacular minting errors, extreme unlikelihood, narrative power, authentication credibility, and irresistible collector passion, all of which transform a common 2017 penny into one of the most valuable modern coins ever conceptualized. And this story stands as a powerful reminder to everyone watching that hidden treasures can be found in the most ordinary places, and that even the smallest coin can carry a universe of possibilities, waiting for someone with curiosity and sharp eyes to discover its true worth.